Let me say this in a way that's probably going to sting you a little bit. Avoiding conflict will destroy your family faster than any argument ever could or will. Most people believe the opposite. They think that arguments are what are tearing families apart, but no, they think that raised voices and hard conversations and uncomfortable moments, that's the danger, but they're not even close. The silence is unspoken resentment, unaddressed hurt, assumptions that grow legs and start walking around like they're facts. That's what quietly kills families. And the reason why this matters so much is because people don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. They wake up one day and realize they don't really talk to their parents anymore, or their sibling feels like a stranger. Their wife or husband could feel like a roommate. The holidays could feel tense even when everyone's being nice and polite. And everyone asks, how did we get here? Well, you didn't get here overnight. You got here by avoiding conflict for years. You let all these little things slide until everything just bottled up, and one day everything exploded. So how does all this start? Well, here's how it usually goes. Someone gets hurt or a little annoyed, a little pissed off, not in some dramatic movie scene way, just a comment or a pattern, a line that got crossed for the ninth or 10th time. And instead of saying something, a thought pops up in your head. It's not worth it. They should know better. Or if I bring it up, it'll just turn into a big mess. So you don't say anything, not a word. You keep quiet. And at first, that feels like relief. No argument or fighting, no awkward silence, no emotional drama. You tell yourself that you're being the bigger person right now. You're being mature. But here's the real problem. When you don't talk to the person, your brain starts talking about them. Your imagination takes over, and it's usually not a nice conversation. You start filling in the blanks and assuming all kinds of crazy stuff, that they don't care, they're selfish, they knew exactly what they were doing, they chose someone else over you, and the other side, them, well, they're assuming too. They know something's wrong. They'll assume that if there was a problem, you'd say something, or you're just busy, or everything's okay, no big deal. And so now both sides are hurt. Both sides feel misunderstood, but neither side actually knows why. The days turn into weeks, those weeks turn into months, and yes, those months turn into years. And now it's not even about those original issues anymore. Not even close. Now it's all about the story that's been building up in your head. And God only knows what twists and turns have happened in that story. Those stories will probably completely change what the real true facts are. And this is where things really fall apart, because once stories start replacing conversations, you're no longer reacting to people. You're reacting to your interpretation of the stories about them that were made up in your mind. A missed call could feel like rejection. A short text could feel like disrespect. A line that got crossed feels like you're being abandoned. But none of this is ever said out loud. So resentment builds under the surface. You get colder, more distant, less patient. And the other person feels it too, but they don't know exactly why, because you haven't brought it up. You've let everything slide in silence for so long. That's when families start drifting away, growing apart, as my ex-wife and I would say. Not with a fight, not with a big moment, just a slow pulling apart, because we both avoided conflict, yet we both assumed that everything was okay. Our stories are what pulled us apart. Isn't that crazy? Look, avoiding conflict, that doesn't prevent any pain. Here's the lie that many people believe. If I avoid conflict, things won't get worse. Well, yes, they will. They just get worse without any noise or any fighting. Avoiding conflict doesn't eliminate pain. It just postpones it and puts it off. And postponed pain, that always comes back much, much, much worse, because now it's layered with time, resentment, misunderstanding, and let's not forget those crazy stories we made up in our head. And that's why when people finally do speak up, that's when it comes out sideways and usually always goes bad. More angry and pissed off than intended, much sharper than is necessary, And all of a sudden, well, everybody's confused. Why are you reacting like this? It was such a small thing. It was never about the small thing. It was about everything that was never said. Now let's talk about addiction for a minute, because this is where the avoidance, it really does the most damage. When someone drinks too much, uses, or numbs out, many families, they go silent just to keep the peace. They don't want to make a fuss about anything. They don't want to trigger them. They don't want another fight. They don't want things to blow up. So they tiptoe. They clean up messes. They make excuses. They pretend that things are normal and okay, but that silence doesn't protect the family. It only protects the addiction, and everyone else, well, they're absorbing the cost. The resentment grows, the trust washes away. The kids even feel it when no one says a word, because they're not stupid. They know. Avoiding the conflict, well, that doesn't make anything stable. It just teaches everyone what's allowed and what isn't. And here's the hard truth about saving the family ties. Conflict is not the enemy. It never has been. The avoidance is. The hard conversation early is uncomfortable, but it's very survivable. The years of silence, that changes people in unimaginable ways. It hardens hearts. Most families don't need therapy. They need honesty before resentment sets in and gets them to the point of no return. Not yelling, not blaming, just saying what the problem really is while it can still be fixed. And no contact, that isn't the problem. A lot of people these days like to say that no contact is a trend. No, it's not. I don't believe that. No contact is usually what happens when conflict avoidance goes on for far too long. It's the end of the road. It's not the starting point. It comes after years of not being heard, repeated boundary violations, silence replacing honesty. By the time someone walks away, that family was already broken. The no contact, that just made it visible to everyone. Here's what helps, even if it's uncomfortable, and it probably will be. Just ask straight out instead of assuming. Say things sooner and not louder. Address the problems before they make you blow up. You don't have to say everything. You don't have to try to fix everyone, but you can't keep saying nothing and expect the closeness of your family to survive. It just won't work. Distance with honesty hurts a hell of a lot less than silence with resentment. It all begins with stopping the crazy stories in your head and simply getting to the point with either an observation or a question. Pretty simple, right? And if you're listening to this and you're thinking of someone, a parent, sibling, spouse, or a kid, ask yourself this: what am I assuming instead of asking? That one question can save you years of damage and heartache, and in my case, millions of dollars in a divorce. Families, they don't fall apart because people don't care. They fall apart because people care so much that they're afraid to speak up. Silence feels peaceful in the moment, but it's a borrowed peace. And just like borrowed money, that bill always comes due. And if this hits you hard, please like, share with a friend who needs to hear this, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want more hard-hitting ways to start getting along better, go to my website, flinchnomore.com. That's flinchnomore.com. And you will find the tools to help you find better peace, stronger relationships, and a happier life. Let's talk soon.